Act 1, Scene 1. At the beginning of Hamlet, we are placed in the kingdom of Denmark. There are two guards, Bernardo and Marcellus, patrolling the castle grounds. Suddenly, they see the ghost of the recently killed King Hamlet, and they're terrified. Then they decide they need to tell Hamlet about the ghost so that they can do something about it. However, Hamlet is busy arguing with his uncle, so they decide to tell him the next day.
Act 1, Scene 2. Claudius gives a speech making up stuff of how he misses his brother. Claudius then asks why Hamlet is so sad and tells him that he can't go to school in Wittenberg. Hamlet then is told that the ghost of his father has been sighted, and he desires to see it.
Marcellus and Horatio for the ghost. He observes that his uncle is partying. The ghost appears and Hamlet leaves with him alone, and the others follow behind.
Scene 5. The ghost appears to Hamlet, claiming to be the ghost of his father, and says that he is here to have his death avenged. The ghost explains that how he was killed by Claudius, which makes Hamlet furious and want to kill Claudius. The ghost finally urges Hamlet to leave his mother alone before disappearing into the night. Hamlet then tells Horatio and Marcellus, his two friends, that he would be acting weird, but that they cannot tell anyone why he is doing so.
Act 2, Scene 1. Polonius sends Rinaldo to spy on Laertes with specific instructions on how to do so.
Act 2. Scene 2. The Queen and King introduce Hamlet's friends, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, in hopes of raising Hamlet's spirits and so that they can spy on him. Polonius then announced that the ambassador for Fortinbras was here to see the king. Polonius then accused Hamlet's cause of madness as his love for Ophelia and the band that he set between the two, and they create a plan in order to see if this is true. Hamlet then enters and speaks with Polonius, calling him a fishmonger. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern later enter, and Hamlet confesses to them his feelings of being lost and sad. Hamlet then asks for their reason for being in Denmark. They say it is for him, but he tells them that he knows the truth, and they eventually admit that they are spying. Hamlet is then introduced to the players of the play that is to take place, whom he gives a special play to, saying that he will include a part himself. Hamlet then devises a plan to catch Claudius using the new play.
Act 3, Scene 1. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern talk of Hamlet's excitement for the play, which convinces Claudius to attend. Then Polonius and Claudius hid behind a curtain and listen to Hamlet talk to Ophelia. Hamlet gives a long monologue on whether to commit suicide or to live with the pain. After that, Claudius and Polonius emerge from the curtain, and Claudius says that he doesn't think Hamlet is mad because of his love for Ophelia. Claudius then says that they need to keep a watch on Hamlet.
Act 3. Scene 2. Hamlet then tells the players the addition to the play that he wrote. The audience enters, and Hamlet warns that he will soon be acting crazy. Hamlet then tells Horatio that the ghost told him that Claudius killed him, so to watch for his reaction after the play. The players then enter and first act out a silent dumb show in which a king is poisoned in his sleep through the ears. Then the killer attempts to seduce the king's wife. Claudius shows visible concern, and this proves to Hamlet and Horatio that Claudius indeed killed King Hamlet. Hamlet then continues to act crazy and asks for a moment alone with his mother so that he can be brutally honest with her.
Act 3, Scene 3. Claudius is urging his people to send Hamlet to England, considering his madness and dangerous, and expresses his sins to the audience. Hamlet then quietly sneaks into Claudius' room to kill him. However, he finds Claudius praying.
Scene 4. Hamlet then speaks to his mother, and Polonius hides behind the curtain to spy on them. The Queen and Hamlet argue. Polonius then exposes himself after mistaking the situation as dangerous. When this happens, Hamlet mistakes him for Claudius and stabs him in the chest. After killing Polonius, Hamlet yells at his mother, saying that what he did is almost as bad as killing a king and marrying his wife. The ghost then appears and speaks to Hamlet. However, Hamlet's mother is unable to see it. Hamlet tries to convince his mother that he is only acting mad, but isn't actually mad.
Act 4, Scene 1. Gertrude then rushes to Claudius and tells him that Hamlet is mad and that he killed Polonius. Claudius then says that they will send Hamlet to England and calls Rosencrantz and Guildenstern to find Hamlet.
Act 4. Scene 2. Hamlet disposes of Polonius's body and shows no remorse for his actions. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern then ask him what happened with Polonius's body. Hamlet calls them a sponge and is then escorted to Claudius.
4. Scene 3. When Hamlet gets to Claudius, he is pressured to reveal where he hid Polonius's body, but he does so by saying that Polonius was being eaten by worms. Hamlet then said for Claudius to send a person to heaven to find him or go to hell to find himself. After spewing random information about how Polonius is with the worms, Hamlet is finally pressured into revealing the whereabouts for the body. Claudius then decides to send Hamlet to England. Claudius includes a letter to England for which he asks.
On a nearby plain, Fortinbras was leading his army to attack Denmark. He then encounters Hamlet, Rosencrantz, and Guildenstern. Fortinbras then tells Hamlet that they are fighting over a small patch of land.
Scene 5. Ophelia is believed to have gone mad with grief over the death. The people begin to get suspicious about Polonius's death. Laertes has also secretly sailed back from France and has a mob. Claudius tells Laertes that Hamlet is responsible for Polonius's death.
Scene 6. Horatio finds sailors who have a letter from Hamlet. Horatio then takes them to see Claudius and follows them to find Hamlet.
Death. Act 4. Scene 7. Claudius gets a letter that Hamlet is back, and Laertes is glad that he is back so he can get his revenge. They devise a plan to kill Hamlet. They decide that Hamlet will want to duel Laertes if challenged, so then Laertes will use a poisoned sword on Hamlet. They also use a backup plan involving a poisoned cup, just in the case if Hamlet wins.
Act 5. Scene 1. Two gravediggers were making the grave for Ophelia. Hamlet and Horatio watched them, and Hamlet picked up and looked at a skull and pondered life. Hamlet and the gravedigger then verbally duel. Hamlet later realized that it was Ophelia who had died, and at that moment Laertes showed up, and he and Hamlet both jumped into her grave. Claudius then showed up and separated them, and reminded Laertes of their plan.
Act 5. Scene 2. Hamlet tells Horatio how he overcame Claudius's plan to kill him in England. Then a man named Osric tells Hamlet of the challenge, which Hamlet accepts. Hamlet attempts to make up with Laertes, however. They are still set to duel. As they duel, the queen drinks from the poisoned cup, even though Claudius tells her not to. Then she dies. Laertes then stabs Hamlet with the poisoned sword. However, in the heat of battle, they switch swords, and Hamlet stabs Laertes with the poisoned sword. Laertes then dies, and Hamlet forces Claudius to drink from the cup, and he dies. Hamlet then tells Horatio that he is dying, and says that Fortinbras is to be the next king. Finally, Fortinbras marches through Denmark, and has Hamlet carried away like a fallen soldier.